So the other day, I was on Twitter looking for some entertainment, if you know what I mean, when I stumbled upon this post of King Von's many mugshots. At first, I didn't believe it, but after doing my research, I found out King Von really does have more mugshots than years on this earth. That's why today we will be looking at the criminal history of King Von. Sit tight because it's gonna be a while. Davon Daquan Bennett, that's King Von's real name, was born in Chicago on August 9, 1994. He grew up in Parkway Gardens, better known as O-Block. That neighborhood produced some of Chicago's biggest drill rappers, but it's also one of the most violent housing projects in the country. By the time he was 16, he was already in the system. In 2011, he was locked up for armed robbery and spent time in juvenile detention. A year later, in November 2012, police arrested him again, this time for unlawful possession of a firearm. The charge didn't lead to a long sentence. Since he was getting a slap on the wrist every time, Von's behavior got even worse since in his mind, he was untouchable. In April 2014, Von's name came up in one of the most talked about Chicago murders of that decade, the killing of Gakira K.I. She was a well-known member of the Gangster Disciples. The story goes like this. K.I. was allegedly responsible for the murder of O.D. Perry, a respected BD from 600. Since his death hurt them so much, the gang changed the name of their hood to O-Block in his honor. But while the name change was cute, they knew that the only way to truly get revenge was going to be by putting his killer in a box. King Von and K.I. interacted multiple times, mainly on social media, where Von would flirt with her.
Y'all was trying to us.
He obviously didn't feel this way in reality, as one day when K.I. was casually walking down the street, she was ambushed by a man who shot her multiple times, with a bullet even catching her in the neck. With injuries that bad, it was obvious that she wasn't going to make it. That's why she lost her life later that afternoon. Police reports released years later listed King Von as the main suspect. Detectives said he approached Barnes on 64th and St. Lawrence and shot her multiple times before running off. But at the time, prosecutors didn't have enough evidence to charge him. No witnesses, no weapon, no confession. The case was left open, but went cold. So basically, according to them, he was guilty, but not beyond the shadow of a doubt. And since K.I. was a fellow gang member, the police didn't bother putting much effort into her case, since in their mind, she got what she deserved. A month after the Barnes killing, things escalated again. On May 29, 2014, a group of young men were outside a birthday party on the 5700 block of South LaSalle in Inglewood. Shots rang out, and 19-year-old Malcolm Stuckey was killed, while two others were hit but survived. Police eventually named two suspects, Davon Bennett, King Von, and Michael Wade, known as Big Mike. Prosecutors said Von and Big Mike left the party after spotting someone they didn't like. They later came back armed and fired into the crowd. They failed to hit their target, however, they sadly hit an innocent bystander. Big Mike was arrested first, with Von's arrest coming the following week, on prom night of all places. He was charged with 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. He denied everything and chose to fight it in court like a real man. That decision kept him in Cook County Jail for more than 3 years as the case dragged on. While Von was a real soldier and chose not to squeal, the same couldn't be said for Big Mike, as he tried to get a plea deal by agreeing to snitch on Von, but in the end, he knew this would be a bad move since he would be dead as soon as he got out. So he kept his mouth shut. The cops didn't take too kindly to him backing out of their deal, so after he was found guilty and sentenced to 12 years, they added 10 more years, just for the headache he had caused them. And in the case of King Von, he was acquitted in December 2017 because witnesses who had originally cooperated either backed out or refused to testify. With little evidence left, prosecutors dropped the case. But there's still been a lot of controversy surrounding the case, as according to some, the only reason witnesses failed to testify was because they were coming up dead.
Let's look at how serious this is. There are murder cases on his file that he beat. He gets released because the witnesses come up dead.
After that acquittal, Von started taking rap seriously. He linked up with Lil Durk and started recording immediately. He had a real story to rap about, his time in jail, shootings, and of course, his many murders. His songs gained traction because they sounded like confessionals, which, let's be honest, they kinda were. But behind the music, he was still catching new cases. On February 5, 2019, Atlanta police responded to a shooting outside the Varsity Drive-In near North Avenue. A man named Alexander Witherspoon was shot and robbed of around $30,000 in cash, a chain, and a car. Surveillance video showed 2 men running from the scene. 3 months later, in May 2019, police arrested King Von and Lil Durk for that incident. The charges were heavy: attempted murder, aggravated assault, armed robbery, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. Both rappers turned themselves in. Durk's grant was $250,000, Von's was $300,000. They both got out after paying it. The case stayed open for years, with hearings delayed multiple times. In October 2022, Georgia prosecutors dropped all charges against Lil Durk. The paperwork for Von's portion of the case never went to trial, as he was killed before that could happen. But despite that, he was ruled as the man responsible. And while we were still hiding crimes, during his death, Von attacked Quando Rondo unprovoked. So if he survived that night, he would be facing another charge for assault. After his death, the FBI released unsealed reports naming him as a suspect in at least 2 more murders beyond the Malcolm Stuckey case, one of them being the 2014 Gakira Barnes killing, which the Bureau said he personally carried out. Another federal document suggested Von might have had a role in the planning of the August 4th, 2020 killing of rival rapper FBG Duck. According to an informant, Von allegedly offered $50,000, later doubling it to $100,000 for the hit. But that was never proved in court, and no formal charge was filed against him before his death. And the case later led to several O-Block members being federally indicted for murder in aid of racketeering, with all of them being sentenced to life without parole. In October 2024, FBG Duck's mother filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Von's estate, Lil Durk, and OTF Records, claiming they profited from Duck's murder and used it to boost record sales. Though, by the looks of it, she's not winning that one, since her son did the exact same thing when he was alive. I mean, bro literally has a song called Dead Bitches. After 2020, new information kept surfacing. Chicago police revisited several old homicides from 2012 to 2018. One of those cases included the 2012 murder of Modell McCambry, another Gangster Disciples affiliate. That case, too, was eventually labeled exceptionally cleared, meaning police believed they'd identified the killer but couldn't prosecute because the suspect was deceased. In plain terms, investigators closed at least 3 Chicago homicide files with King Von listed as the perpetrator after he died. Those include the 2012 murder of Modell McCambry, the 2014 murder of Gakira Barnes, and the 2018 murder of a man named P5. So with a rap sheet like that, I'm sure you're wondering how long his sentence would have been if he was still alive. Well, he'd likely be facing somewhere between 250 to 300 years in prison, or life without parole several times over. So either way, even if he didn't die, his life was pretty much over. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, check out the videos on your screen.